Welcome back to Kane's Corner. I'm Matt Kane, here to bring you the breaking sports from the NFL all the way to college basketball. Well, I just said we talked about the NFL last episode. If you weren't there, quarterback Tinder. I've posted a lot of updates on my Instagram, but now we're going to go into college basketball, more specifically March Madness. I understand we just got into April. March is gone. March Madness is not. And that is because we are heading into the Final Four and the national championship coming up this weekend. I wasn't able to do any episodes, any videos over YouTube throughout the madness. I have posted on Instagram. I would advise you go check that out. If you haven't checked it out, then what are you doing? Go check that out. A lot of great graphics. I worked really hard on a lot of the stuff. I'd really appreciate if you checked it out, gave it a like, gave it a comment. I know I did have Kentucky all the way. Didn't work out with me. It didn't work out for me. I also had Gonzaga going all the way after I'm in my second edition of the bracket. I had them in the national championship, not winning. I had them in the national championship. Didn't work out for me. Do have Kansas winning. That's still alive. That's working out for me. And I did pick a little upsets here or there. So there's been a couple W's, but a lot of fat L's. So I will take that L, but not today because I'm going to be breaking down the Final Four here. Going to give you my national champion. And yeah, I'm excited because this is the best part of the madness. The Final Four. I love sitting down, even though it's two games. I love sitting down. I love watching. It'd be better if Syracuse was in it. But regardless, I love college basketball. I love March Madness. And we are finally getting to the peak of it all. There's 4 teams remaining. If you live under a rock, I will just let you know it's Duke and Duke UNC, Nova, and Kansas. Duke will be heading to play North Carolina, which is very interesting because it's Coach K's last season, and this is the first time that Duke and UNC are playing in the tournament. So that's just breaking records right there. And then Villanova and Kansas are going to go head to head in the first game of the two. Jay Wright versus Bill Self, Coach K versus Hubert Davis, who's a part of the Roy Williams tree. You can't get better. Can't get better than that. I always talk about coaching. If you follow me on Twitter, that's all I talk about is how coaching matters in March. And that's just showing what it is. It's all about coaching. And I understand Calipari was eliminated the first round. Should have called the timeout, but regardless, I think it's all about coaching. And these 4 teams really held my case. Let's dive into it, though. Starting with Duke. What's there more to say about Duke than the talent on their roster? They're 32-6. They're very efficient from the field. They've played great games. They beat Michigan State by 9. Still, it was a really close game. Texas Tech by 5. Arkansas by 9. And like I said, with their roster, they virtually can beat anybody. They're led out by the freshman phenom, Paolo Banchero. Everyone knows him. And even the players around him. You have Paolo, and then in the inside, you have Mark Williams, who's averaging 4 blocks throughout this tournament. And you have young stars around those 2 guys, AJ Griffin, Trevor Keels, Wendell Moore, Jeremy Roach, Jeremy Roach put 15 points up against Texas Tech and Michigan State. Those 5 guys that I just named, 6 guys that I just named are good enough. They're good enough to have a 6-man rotation and win the national championship. So Duke has a lot of potential here. It's just a matter of time whether they'll stay consistent or not, because you have to remember this Duke team struggled to stay consistent. They had some very ugly losses, including the Virginia Tech ACC championship game. Yes, I will come out here and say Virginia Tech, they did not deserve to be in the tournament. I understand they won the ACC tournament. They have a sense of belonging after that win, but if they lost to Duke in that finals, I would throw Texas A&M over Virginia Tech. you know how I feel about the ACC. It could be a little biased because Syracuse is there, and Syracuse, well, they weren't too hot. So I did not want to put a conference up high with my favorite team, the team that I grew up with, being in that conference and just absolutely terrible. I wanted to flush everything out with the ACC. I wanted them to be eliminated in the second round, which I thought really, in all reality, I had all the teams eliminated out in the second round because I had Duke eliminated to Davidson, UNC eliminated to Baylor, Miami, I had them gone in the US against USC, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, I had them eliminated by Texas and Alabama. So I virtually wanted the ACC gone, but they showed out this year. They're a great conference. I'm still not going to put them over the Big 12, but regardless, a great conference. And Duke had ugly losses, even though it's a good conference. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Duke has to stay consistent, and they have been the whole tournament. It's just a matter of time. If Duke can stay consistent, I could see them easily winning the national championship. I think they have the best odds to win the national championship, if I'm being honest. But if they don't stay consistent, I honestly think that they could lose this game to UNC. North Carolina and Duke, like I said, rivalry. They played twice this year, and they're 1-1. And the funny thing is, they both won when they were away. We look back at February 5th, Duke defeated UNC by 20. And then March 5th, 1 month after, UNC defeated Duke in Cameron Indoor on Coach K's regular season finale by 13 points. So virtually these two teams are equal this year. Obviously, the record doesn't say that, but they're pretty much equal this year. And it's going to be a battle between the rivals. UNC, even though they're an 8 seed, they have played amazing this tournament. They've defeated Marquette, Baylor in overtime by 7. You ask me, I think Baylor probably should have won that if they didn't have if Baylor weren't down that much. And I guess if Brady Manick kept playing, it could be a different situation too. Baylor could have easily won that game. It's kind of shocking how they came back, but it is what it is. UNC is here, and they're here for a reason. They went on to defeat UCLA right after, and obviously St. Peter's, I don't have that as a notable win, but St. Peter's did make it to the Elite Eight, so you have to mention that. Like I said before, Brady Manick, Armando Bacot, Caleb Love, RJ Davis, great players. They're fantastic, and if they're put on a great team, I'm not saying UNC is not a great team, but if they're put on a team that's televised constantly, like Gonzaga, Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, I think that they would have a lot more national attention. Obviously, Brady has got it this past year, but those 4 guys are great. But what I worry about is outside those 4 guys, what are they going to do? I'm not going to get into the picks right now, but it's truly going to be a battle. I think that both these teams are great. And we'll have to see how these teams truly comes down to how they play. Duke, consistency. What are they going to do? UNC kind of need a perfect game, and they kind of need to slow down Paolo to win. But moving to Villanova, huge blow. Villanova, you know how much I talked up Justin Moore and Colin Gillespie. And of course, I honestly think that I am jinx these teams, because Justin Moore unfortunately tore his Achilles on Saturday. He tore his Achilles against Houston on Saturday. Oh, geez, I think that's right. Yeah, he tore his Achilles on Saturday against Houston. Prayers to him. I hope he has a speedy recovery. He's a great player. He's averaged 15 points for the Villanova Wildcats, and he's averaged the most minutes per game on that Wildcats team, and that's 35 minutes. So that's a huge blow to Villanova. Their team is on crutches right now. No pun intended. And they're going to need a lot to win this game. because they're going against number one Kansas. Um, I mean, I'm not going to put, I truly wish Justin Moore was playing in this game because it would be such a great game. Not that it's not going to be a great game because you can't count out Jay Wright. But the Villanova team is running on a five-man rotation pretty much right now of Colin Gillespie, Jermaine Samuels, Caleb Davis, Eric Dixon, and Brandon Slater. They're five great players, but when push comes to shove and they're going to need an X factor on the bench, I'm not sure that they're going to be able to bring that out and defeat Kansas. Now, what Villanova does well is they protect the ball really well, limit turnovers, they shoot really well. They have a successful slow tempo offense. I mean, they beat Houston by putting up 55 points. I'm pretty sure they put up somewhere around 61 to Michigan, around there. In Ohio State, they did put 71 points up there, but that was a totally different game with the offenses flourishing. They need to stay out of foul trouble and they need their defense to be at par because they're going to be going up against Kansas, who has one of the most efficient offenses in the nation, and they're the fourth most efficient team in the nation. Kansas, what I love about them and the reason why I picked them in my Final Four, I mean, they're the only Final Four team I got right. And the reason why I picked them is because of the talent that they have on their roster. I mean, I feel like they have every type of player that I want. A scorer, a Showtime guy, Ochai Agbaji. I'm pretty sure Agbaji. It's AJ Agbaji. I just looked up a video of this. I think I should know how to say it. It's Ochai Agbaji. They have that star, a Showtime player. They have role players around him on that starting offense with Christian Braun. They have an X factor of David McCormick, the big man. And then they have a guy like Remy Martin, who has really showed out. The Iowa State transfer has showed out this tournament. He put 20 points against Creighton and 23 against Providence. That was a game that they needed someone to shine. And it was Remy Martin's time because Christian Braun put up 6 points that game. Ochai put up 8 points that game. And they still won. They scored 66 points without Braun or Agbaji putting up more than 15 points. They won that game. I remember, so I didn't really watch. I watched a little of the games. I watched here and there whenever I could. But I was at the Grove in Los Angeles on Sunday. And the Kansas-Miami game was going on. I was with my parents. They came to visit me in Los Angeles. My brother came too. We were at the Grove. My mom went into the store and I pulled out my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I can't believe that Miami is winning this game. Now it was back and forth at this time, but Miami really looked like they were strong. Fast forward an hour later, we ended up going from the Grove to the Peterson Automobile Museum, I think is what it's called. And I go to my phone, I watch a little of the game, and Kansas is winning by like 15, by like 16. It was unbelievable how great Kansas was in the second half. I watched the highlights on YouTube. They scored 41, 47, 40. They outscored Miami 47-15 in that second half. 47 points in one half. That is the type of roster that I see winning the national championship. They have, like I said, they have every player that I'd want there. And Kansas has, the balls are in Kansas's court. Now, ESPN BPI has Villanova 51%. Don't ask me how they come up with that. Well, I think Villanova could win. I think that's baloney, having Kansas as the underdog just because of Justin Moore, I would say. But you can't count on Jay Wright, just like what I said earlier. what Kansas is going to need to do is they can't let Nova take over, and they're going to need their offense to shine. Villanova is a very slow tempo team. They will kick you into the ground, and they will do it slowly. Um, so they're going to need their offense. They're going to need to score more than 65 points, I think, to beat Villanova, and that's totally achievable for Kansas. Now that I've gone through the 4 teams, we're going to hit the power rankings quickly, and then we're going to go to the national championship, and I will give you my picks for these final 4 games. Starting with the power rankings, we'll go from 4 to 1. The 4th team on the power rankings, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Don't get me wrong, it was tough to do. It was tough putting North Carolina there because they beat Baylor and they beat UCLA. But I feel like in the week, more like their most recent game, it was against St. Peter's. Like I said before, I understand St. Peter's was the Elite Eight, but that was easily the easiest team to face in the Elite Eight. And I just can't put them over Kansas, Nova, or Duke. Like, don't get me wrong, four in any type of power rankings would be a great position to be in. But 4 in this power rankings, obviously it's not the best because it's the worst. But I personally could not put him over Kansas, Nova, or Duke. If you could have, then let me know why you would have, because I truly can't wrap my head around that. But my 3rd team, this was tough to do too. It's Kansas. I thought Duke and Nova Nova and Duke were the 1 and 2. So it was whether Kansas or UNC were 3 and 4. And like I said, I can't put UNC over Kansas. So I have Kansas at the 3, UNC at the 4. Reason why I have Kansas at the 3 is because I feel like they've had the easiest road in their region. They defeated Creighton, Providence, Miami. Those are Texas A&M, Texas Southern too. Shout out to them. They've defeated those teams, but I just don't think those teams beat the calibers of Houston, Miami, Houston, or even Michigan's, because Michigan was on some type of terror in the NCAA tournament. Don't beat out the Texas Techs, the Arkansas. No, they don't beat out Baylor's. They don't beat out Baylor, UCLA. So that's why I have Kansas at 3. And you might ask, why would you have Kansas over UNC if they have the easiest road? And that's because Kansas is literally coming off of a 47-point half. That's really what's pushing them over the power rankings and pushing them into that 3rd spot. Heading to 2, Duke or Nova. It's got to be Nova. I had to take into account that they just lost Justin Moore, who was that's a huge blow to them. So that's going to drop them down a little in my power rankings. And they played great basketball, but I don't think I could put them over Duke. Shocker, Duke's number 1. They're the last team left. I don't think I could put them over Duke. They got away from – they played Michigan, Ohio State, which are 2 semi-strong teams that can cause havoc. I actually have them called upset teams. That can truly cause havoc. They got away from them, and I think that they played the best team in the Elite Eight losers section, which would be Arkansas, Houston, Miami, and St. Peter's. I think Houston is easily the best team out of those 4 teams. I've talked about Kelvin Sampson before. He had the Final Four run last year. I think that the Houston team's a well-coached team, very small but very scrappy. So I think Nova getting out of that game, winning that game, leaps them up to 2nd. And the reason why I have Duke at 1 is because they're the hottest team in the nation. If you don't think they're the hottest team in the nation, I have a lot of questions for you. They're really coming into the peak of their season. They battled out against Tom Izzo. They beat Texas Tech, who I thought highly of, and they beat out Arkansas, which Eric Musselman's a great coach. They're fresh off a Gonzaga win. They have the biggest energy in the world. And Duke was still able to, 1, control that game, and 2, start to kind of blow them out. I know it was by 9, but still they were hammering it down throughout the whole game. So I have to put Duke with Paolo, with Jeremy Roach, who caught fire, with Wendell Moore, with Mark Williams, with Trevor Keels, with Alan, with AJ Griffin. Alan Griffin's his brother, played for Syracuse. With that type of roster and Coach K coaching them, they're easily first in the power rankings. I don't even think Justin Moore's injury, if he wasn't injured, I don't think I'd put Nova even first in the power rankings. So that's Matt's power rankings, Final Four. Let's get to the big question. Who is winning the national championship? But before I go there, I thought it would be fair to give you my Final Four predictions. So the first game I have listed is Duke UNC. I don't see UNC winning this. They have to have a perfect game, and I don't think they'll have a perfect game. They'd have to get by Mark Williams and Paolo Banchero, really. And I know Baycott's comfortable with that, but I'm not. So I'm going to pick Duke, and I'm going to pick it by 10. It might not be a blowout, but I do think, when it gets to the crunch time and the free throws, you have to take that into account. So I think it's going to be by 10. The second game, Kansas Nova. Very good game. I think it's going to be close. Don't get me wrong. But I'm going to go with Kansas by 3. It's going to be an offensive showdown. And what it's going to come down to is defense. And Kansas has it's a close race, but I think Kansas has the better defense, especially based on efficiency numbers. I have them here. It's virtually the same efficiency. If Justin Moore, I'll tell you this, if Justin Moore was playing, Villanova would be in my national championship. I don't know if they'd win the national championship, but they would be there. Finally, the national championship. I have to stick with my guns. I hope those Duke lovers understand. Ajay Patel, I hope you understand, buddy. I also get $20 if Kansas wins. I have Kansas defeating Duke by 3 points. Actually, I had Kansas over Nova by 5. Kansas over Duke by 3. It's going to be an offensive showdown. It's going to come down to who comes up clutch on defense. And that's not a question for me. Kansas has a better defense than Duke. I'm sorry, Ajin. I'm so sorry. But I'm in it for the $20 and I'm in it for Kansas winning. Everyone knows at the end of the March Madness tournament, other than the great music video of One Shining Moment. I almost forgot the name. Great music video, One Shining Moment. They also have the all Final Four all tournament team. I wanted to lay that out for you guys. My picks, obviously, it's going to depend on who's in the national championship. It typically is only players in the national championship. Johnny Juzang did make it into that tournament team last year, but you have to remember that game was a buzzer beater game. That was absolutely insane. So I have Ochai Agbaji, Kansas guard. I have Remy Martin, Kansas guard. Wendell Moore, Duke forward. Paolo Banchero, Duke forward. And David McCormick, Kansas forward to round out my tournament team. I think it's pretty reasonable. It was either Remy Martin or Christian Braun. It is what it is. I think it's pretty reasonable having 2 Duke players, especially guys like Paolo, who's absolutely insane. And I think Wendell Moore is going to catch fire in their game against UNC. But I'm locked into this tournament. I truly, truly, truly think that Nova can win it because of Jay Wright. I have Kansas winning, so obviously Kansas. And I truly think Duke can win it, riding off that Coach K and riding Coach K into the sunset, riding that Coach K last dance type of vibe. The only team I don't think can win it is UNC. Prove me wrong, UNC. Let me be the jinx to Kansas, Duke, and Nova and prove me wrong. I would love to see it. But that's going to be all for March Madness. Make sure you watch those games. Make sure you look to the Instagram. I will be posting all of these results from this episode prior to the games on Saturday, so you could really see my all tournament team, my power rankings, my national championship. But other than that, I'm happy to be back after a little 2-week hiatus, and bring you some sports content. And I'm glad it's not just NFL, because you got to branch out somewhere else, you know. That's gonna be all for Kane's Corner with Matt Kane. Let's hope that March Madness has a Syracuse Orange next year. We'll see you guys next time.